It doesn't matter if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on my podcast, what you're about to see and hear is something quite remarkable. You're going to be meeting a man called Andrew O'Brien, who is revolutionizing the whole PR world. If you have a ambition to be featured in one of the most famous magazines on the planet, to be featured on a news channel, on a TV channel, on a TV program, in a famous newspaper, this is the man who can help you, and at a fraction of the normal cost. He is disrupting the PR world as we speak. His website is called leveragedinfluence.com. I recommend going to there highly. However, before you do that, listen to what Andrew has to say. He's going to talk you through the whole process of how you could get featured in almost any publication or any channel or program on the planet. Obviously, you need to have something that is worthy of a story. You need to have a good business, a good concept, an interesting story. But if you have these things, you need to know Andrew O'Brien, you need to know Leveraged Influence, and you need to hear his story. Andrew's backstory is incredible. It's movie stuff. Like it's not the happiest of stories at the beginning. In fact, he had a very difficult childhood. I mean, that's really an understatement. But what he has done from that starting point is hugely inspirational. You're going to love this episode. You're going to love the help and advice. You're going to love the information. Sit down, get in your car, get in the commute, go for a walk. However you're going to consume this, just spend your time focusing solely on this, okay? You're going to really enjoy it, all right? Hi, Andrew. It's Mike Auton here. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good, man. Pleasure to have you here on the what will be used for the podcast, Inside Your Online Success. I know we've got a lot to talk about with you, and I guess we'll start off with who you are, what it is you're up to right now.
Yeah, my name is Andrew O'Brien. I'm the co-founder of Leveraged Influence, and we've actually created the first ever PR on demand service where you can actually order someone to pitch you to a specific media outlet on demand. So it's been an exciting adventure so far.
Very cool. And how long have you been in the PR world, Andrew?
Since 2013, so about 6 years now.
Okay, cool. But you've had a few different businesses in that time, I believe. Is that right?
I have. I've jumped I've had many different things. Yeah, I've gone through the entrepreneur's journey where we test and we try and we fail and we test and we try and we fail until we find something that sticks.
That's right. And right now, this business is oops, bless you.
Thank you.
No problem. How old is the business right now? How long have you been running the current business?
This Leveraged Influence is about 6 months old. Before this, I had The Publicity Guy, which is another PR company that I had for about over a year, close to 2 years.
Cool. And I'm right in saying this new business is expanding rapidly. Is that right?
Yes. It's growing really quickly. It's a lot of fun and it's scary at the same time.
But good scary, right?
Yeah. I'd much rather this than not growing fast enough.
Absolutely, man. Well, tell me and the people listening and watching, how does your business differ from any other PR company?
Well, a lot of PR companies, so the average PR firm that will get you decent results charges about $20,000 a month with a minimum of a 6-month contract. So what that means is you're going to pay $120,000. And another thing you have to understand about the PR industry is there's no guarantees. Okay. PR companies can't offer guarantees because it's too... for example, if I were to build sales funnels, all right, if I were to sell it to someone, I could personally build it and give it to someone.
Yeah.
What we do is so dependent on other human beings that are not our employees. They're not under our control. They're not under our thumb. And so we can't promise or guarantee anything in this industry. So with that being said, the average PR firm is about $20,000 a month. A boutique PR firm probably charges about $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and maybe you can get an hourly freelancer publicist that will get you some smaller things for about $200 an hour. And so the price, PR is a very luxurious service, so it's very expensive. And so what we wanted to find out is how do we get this service to be more affordable for your average entrepreneur that has a good story? They've been around, they've proven their concepts, they just don't have $20,000 a month to throw at PR in hopes that it works.
Yeah.
right? And so we figured out, we actually designed our business model off of Design Pickle. Have you ever heard of Design Pickle?
I'm very familiar. It's a very interesting business. Very interesting.
Okay, so we did it based off of their business model, which is graphic design on demand.
Yeah.
So we figured out how do we take that business model, make it fit in the PR world, and we figured it out. So we actually are an on-demand service versus having to pay $20,000 a month for nothing.
Cool. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I am very familiar with you. I got to know you through a mutual acquaintance, Frank Kern. And I know you have helped a lot of people in Frank's world get some really good publicity really quickly. So what makes you guys different? What do you, because like my experience of PR is pretty hit and miss, but you guys seem to have a lot of hits.
Yeah, what happens is we treat it differently. So a lot of people think that PR has to do with relationships, and it really doesn't. I mean, it kind of does. Obviously, you want to build relationships as a publicist. The majority of the people that we pitch are cold contacts, which means they have no idea who we are. Yeah. They have no idea who our customers are. And so the way we pitch is a two-step process, right? So first we prove our research, we get to know them, and we dig in deep, right? We go to LinkedIn, we go to their personal websites, we get to know more about their career, their professional life, and compliment them and prove to them that we took our time to get to know them.
This is before you've even contacted them, right?
Yeah. So we do a lot of research before we even contact them. One, to make sure that they're even the right fit for our customer, that they would actually be interested in our customer.
Yeah.
Two, every reporter you ever talk to will tell you the majority of the pitches they receive is all about someone else, right? How awesome this person is. This person is changing the world. You're going to want to cover this story. Yeah. It's all this fake, false, salesy hype around your everyday Joe. Yeah. Right. So we wanted to be different. And so that's how we stand out. We really get to know them and prove to them that we've done our research. We know who you are. And based on all the research we've done, we really feel like we have someone that matches you.
So you're kind of flipping the tables in a way, right? Compared to what most people's approach would be. Most people would approach somebody and say, write a story about me. Whereas you guys, from what I understand, are more like, hey, you seem really interesting. I know this and this about you, and for that reason I might have some interesting contacts for you, or a person that you might be interested in. Is that correct?
That's exactly it. Give value instead of ask for value, right?
I'm on the same page. Page. That's very cool. Very cool. So what would be, if someone wanted to be a client with your business is now called Business Publicist, is that right?
No, it's leveraged influence. Business Publicist is my personal brand.
Forgive me. So if somebody wanted to be a client of yours, what would they typically be paying?
So the average fee right now, so we did a beta test at $397 a month for the first 10 people. Actually, oversold it by 4. So we had 14 people join to make sure it actually worked. Sure. It did work. And so we upped the price to $697, and we'll probably sign about 40 more customers at that price point. Yeah. And then from that, after we get about 40 more customers, we're going to up our price to $997, and we'll probably stay at $997 for a while. But obviously, the higher the demand, the higher the price.
I understand. And what is I know it must be very hard to answer this question, but I'll ask it anyway. What might be a typical result that somebody who's got, let's say, a great product or a great service, somebody who's got an interesting backstory that's relevant to the publications or the TV channels that they're trying to get on, how much publicity could that person could expect from your service?
So it definitely is it's a hard question to answer, but what I would say is if someone comes in just for a month, the result's probably going to be 0. So we tell everybody, don't come in to try it out just for a month, because it's like a Facebook ad, right? When you run a Facebook ad, you got to test, then you got to adjust, you got to test, you got to adjust to make it work the right way. It's the same way with this, because we have to test the message, test the context, figure out where the break is, and then adjust and test again. So I always say come in with a 90-day expectation. And obviously it's a risk. It's a risky investment to invest in us because we can't guarantee anything. Sure. However, we do see the average people that stay in for about 90 days are seeing an increased winning amount of contacts the longer they're in, because their account manager is getting to understand more about what their contributors or writers are wanting and more about the client's message. So probably about 3 or 4 in the first 90 days is realistic. and basically I tell people is understand that I charge about $3,000 to $5,000 for what I call an a la carte, which is just getting you on one publication. I'll normally charge in between $3,000 to $5,000. So to get on 4 at $697 a month for 3 months, that's a super discounted rate, right? But again, I tell everybody it's about how long are you willing to be around, and it's a risk. Investing in PR is always a risk.
I guess any investment is.
Yeah, business.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is a risk.
Exactly. But from what I've seen, I'm genuinely impressed and quite blown away by the unsolicited testimonials that I see peppered around Facebook all the time. People saying how glad they were to have worked with you, the success they've had as a result, the news outlets they've got on. There are people also, if I'm right in saying, they've actually become contributors on magazines through working with you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We've gotten a couple people those spots.
That's nice. What kind of magazines are they working on?
Mainly, we've gotten a couple people in Entrepreneur as contributors.
Yeah.
And we actually didn't do it under our own name. We did it under theirs, help them get that set up. We've got a couple people getting ready to be contributors on Forbes.
Okay.
And we are looking more into how can we recreate that in other publications as well.
That's cool. That's very cool. And you're based out of Texas, Austin, is that right?
That's right. Austin, Texas.
It's not a part of the world that I've been to, but I know a lot of people, it seems to be like a kind of like marketing Silicon Valley. Have I got that right?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's kind of like Silicon Valley of Texas. It's the California of Texas.
Yeah, interesting. And what kind of feel does it have, like as a place, Austin? Has it got a very?
It's got a really good laid back feel, very diverse. A lot of different cultures. It's really, I love Austin. It's been the best city I've ever lived in my life, just because of the diverse backgrounds, cultures, and entrepreneurship. Business is big here. Tech startups are big. So it's a great place.
Nice. So if you were to pick one thing that you're working on right now that you're super excited about, would it be what you're doing, what you've already talked about, or would it be something quite different?
So the overall plan here is to build something big, right? So PR on demand, what we're doing right now is only the beginning. We are trying to leverage influence is about leveraging influence on all different platforms. Whatever platforms will give you influence, right? So that's podcasts, that's magazines, that's newspapers, that's TV, but it's stages, right? Speaking on stages. It's also connecting with influencers and leveraging influencer marketing. There's so many different ways to leverage influence, and what we're trying to find is a way to bulk up PR on demand to be more than just, hey, we'll get you in the news, but hey, we'll get you in the stage, we'll get you on a speaking stage, hey, we'll get you connected to an influencer, hey, there's all these channels. So we're working on bulking that up to make it something unique that no one could ever replicate.
That's very, very cool. So if somebody becomes a client of yours, am I right in saying they have an assigned person who works with them kind of on a part or full-time basis?
Yeah. So we have, what happens on the on-demand service is you get 10 pitches per month, right? So you can choose whatever 10 media outlets you want, up to 10 every month, and you choose those. Like the customer chooses the media outlet, the account manager gets it. It's like a help desk portal. They get the ticket, and then they go and follow the pitching process and update the customer throughout the process. And then they have one account manager that works on their account, because we want that account manager to get to know them, right? We want them to understand their company, their message. And if we switch it back and forth every time, then it'll be harder for that account manager to really learn. And then one thing that customer experience is the biggest thing for us, right? So even if we didn't get you a win in the first month, you would still be impressed by what you received. So you get a PR strategy, you get consulting, you get help, you get onboarding calls, you've got a big team of customer success manager, you got an account manager, you got an editorial team. All of them are active working on your accounts. And every month, if we don't get any wins for you, what will happen is the executive team of about 5 people sit in a room and have a conversation about your account and figure out why is that not happening? Why are they not getting wins? Yeah. And the entire meeting is recorded and sent to the customer so they can watch like a fly on the wall. Just have conversations about their account and figure out, all right, how do we adjust and get more wins?
Sounds like a very transparent process.
It definitely is.
That's really cool. I like it a lot, man. Like I say, I'm hugely impressed with what you guys do. So I know a big part of what you do, or at least what I've understood, is helping people find their story and
Mhm.
deliver their story to, I guess, first to the people who will be putting them in the media, and then of course the media then passes that on to the general public. I think you've got quite, well, I say quite, you've got an incredibly interesting story. I don't even know if the word interesting does it justice. You've been through some tough times, tougher than many, but you're here, and I think the fact that you've done that is hugely inspirational. Is there any? Could you talk us through a little bit about how you came to become Andrew O'Brien? Because obviously, you've been in the army. Is that right?
Yes.
How many years were you in the army?
4.
4 years. Before that, you had, I guess, what could easily be described as a difficult childhood as well, right?
Oh, definitely. I can actually, if you like, I can just do a 3-minute overview of it, and you can dive into any part that you want.
Let's go for it. You go for it. I'm sure you're used to this, so you go for it.
Yeah, I've got this down quite well. So my name is Andrew O'Brien. I was actually born and raised in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, and my mother was a prostitute. And I never say that to be mean or hateful. It's just that was her career choices, right? So I witnessed a lot of sexual activities as a child. I had about 20 different daddies come in throughout my life, watched my mom have sex for money, while we lived in motel rooms and trailer parks and cars and apartments and houses, moved me every 6 months to a year. Never had any stability, and had such a traumatic childhood that my goal, as I got into my teenage years, I started getting into drugs and alcohol, of course, being raised in that environment. And I had to figure out, how do I get out of this? How do I escape this black hole, get away from my mom, get away from this past, and really build my own new life? And the only option for me, because I dropped out of high school, so I had a GED, and so I ended up joining the United States Army.
Okay.
And I joined the Army to get me away from my troubled past, right? And joined the Army, did basic training in South Carolina, Fort Jackson. I joined as an 88 Mike, which is a truck driver, and I deployed to Iraq from 2008 to 2009. During my deployment, I was a lead gunner for 9 months of the year. So 9 months, I was a lead gunner of all convoys, is the guy that sits on top of the truck with the big machine gun to make sure we don't get blown up or shot at.
Okay.
And for the first time in my life, I felt purpose. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I had a mission. I had a purpose. I felt like I wasn't a failure or a loser or a drug user or an alcoholic or all the things that I was back home.
Yeah.
And I witnessed war, and then I came home, and a year later, I actually tried to kill myself, and I took over 120 pills in less than 3 minutes. And I did that, and a lot of people think it had to do with war, but it really did. It was a combination of really more focused towards my childhood experiences, right? So they just kind of came back up. And then the fact that I went from being important in Iraq to just being another number, picking up cigarette butts and sweeping rocks back home. Just I missed feeling purpose. And so I was 22, tried to kill myself, woke up a couple of days later in the ICU. They ended up having to pump my stomach full of coal. And I woke up with this newfound appreciation for life, this realization that I'm in control of my life and what happens. And I was happy. And then I got out of the Army a few months later. Less than a year later, my mother actually murdered her husband, shot him point blank in the head while he was sleeping. I was living in Chicago at the time. This happened in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in October of 2011. And then I came home to try to help her. She said someone broke into the house. And as I was cleaning up his remains out of the carpet, because they don't clean it up, you do. And so as I'm cleaning up his remains out of the carpet, she pulls me outside and asked me to help frame his ex-wife for the murder. And I told her no, and I moved away from her. I didn't tell on her because for us, we're an Italian family. You don't rat on anybody, just escape. I moved away, and then a couple years later in 2013, it finally went to trial. Or 2014, I'm sorry. It went to trial, and I found out she was trying to pin the murder on my older brother. And so I wasn't going to allow that to happen. So I went, testified against her in court, told them what she had asked me to do, and she was found guilty and sentenced to 60 years in prison for murder. And all of these experiences led to where I am today, right? It was in 2013, I woke up one morning and saw that 22 veterans were killing themselves every day in the United States, which is a big number. And it clicked for me. It's like, this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to share my story with these veterans and help them realize that they don't have to give up, that they're not alone, that they're not weak, that they're not the only one that feels this way. And the problem was, I didn't know internet marketing. I didn't know how to get my message in front of people. And I realized, well, I heard about this through the news. So maybe if I got on the news, more people could hear my story. And that's what happened. My second interview was the Austin American Statesman, landed front page, full spread on the inside of the newspaper. It went viral through the Associated Press, went around the world. And then that led into a 3-year speaking career where I got to speak in South Korea, Japan, getting paid anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 a speaking engagement by Uncle Sam, which is hard. Uncle Sam is cheap. He's a very frugal uncle. And so I got to have that 3-year speaking career, and I got to save a lot of lives. I got to make good money. I got to experience amazing things, and it was all thanks to PR, which is what led into where I am now.
It's, I mean, where do you even start, Andrew? Where do you even start? That's, I think something I made a note of, something I've started to be more aware of and think of more, because we all have a backstory, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them are more cinematic than others. Yeah. I think, you could easily turn your backstory into about a 3-part movie. A trilogy would be not inappropriate. But something I've started to be aware of, and it applies to myself, but to a much lesser extent, is that the worst experiences make the best stories. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
Oh, so 100%. So many people are so concerned about sharing their past. And I always tell people, the more transparent you can be about your story and your struggle, right? People connect to struggle more than they connect to success, right? I can't connect to Grant Cardone getting in a private jet that he owns his logo on. Yeah. But I can connect to Mark Cuban, who came from nothing and built his life into something, right? Yeah. So we all connect with struggle more than we do with success. So I think it's important for all of us to start sharing more of the struggle versus, oh, look at all my success.
I agree. I think it's the struggle that unites us all, right? Mm-hmm. Very few of us have just had it plain sailing our whole lives.
Right.
And I think that can apply even to people in very privileged environments. I'm fortunate enough now to have a very different life from the one that I grew up in. Financially speaking, so I mix with people who I wouldn't previously have mixed with. Millionaires, billionaires, that kind of thing, and you realize that money doesn't necessarily bring happiness. And even people who seem to have everything on a material level are not necessarily the happiest of people.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people, when they hear my story, they think, well, based on your life, I led a boring life. And I always tell everybody, one, it's not a competition. And if it were a competition, trust me, I wouldn't win it. There are many people in this world that have gone through much worse than I will ever experience in my life, right? But that doesn't discredit what I've gone through. Mm-hmm. And just like what I've gone through doesn't discredit with whoever's listening to this has gone through. Yeah. Right? It's not a competition. Yeah. What I always tell everybody is we've all faced struggles in our life. Every single one of us. It's what made us who we are today.
Definitely.
So it doesn't have to be a Lifetime movie, right? It just has. If you share more about your struggles, your divorces, your foreclosures, your bankruptcies, that time you were negative in the bank account and couldn't pay the electric bill, we shared more of those honest, open stories. One, you're going to connect with your audience more, but two, we're going to change the world more, right? Because right now, I think suicide is increasing because everybody's life on social media looks amazing, right? It looks like everything's so great. Yeah. And so we're basing our lives off of the false lives that we're seeing on social media. And we think our life is the worst because we don't realize that, everybody's facing real life.
Yeah, no, I agree. Apologies that my camera's gone off there, but I can still see you and I'm recording on the other camera. Battery just went to my DSLR. Let's not worry about that. I totally agree with that. It's, I think when we're trying to find our own story, and when we're trying to communicate our journey to other people, I think it's incredibly important to be open and to be honest. And I think, yeah, I think you've tapped on something I wanted to talk about, was a lot of people think they don't even have a story, correct?
Right, right. And on that topic, so if we think about every movie that we watched, right? If it was all just good things the entire movie, would we keep watching movies? Right?
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
we want to watch the struggle and the overcoming. It's called the hero's journey,
Uh-huh.
right? The hero's journey is pretty much the same in every movie. Storylines are different, but the journey is the same,
Yeah.
right? The struggle to success, to beating a bad guy, to falling down, to getting up, and the majority of them ending in a happy way. And so I talk about sharing your story that way. Think of your life, right? If we look at my story I overviewed with you, I call it my highlight reel,
Yeah.
my movie trailer of
Yeah.
my life,
Yeah.
right? Think about it that way. When you're trying to share your story, think of it as a movie trailer. What is the movie trailer of your life? Because
Yeah.
every movie trailer highlights either the really funny parts, or if it's a scary movie, the really scary parts, or
Yeah.
if it's a drama movie, the really sad parts.
Mhm.
So whatever your story is, what is your movie trailer?
Yeah, and I guess it makes total sense to me. I think also emotions are an important part of things, right? We're not. I think especially guys, but I think society as a whole, we're not very open about the emotional kind of journey that we've gone through to get to where we are now. Would you agree with
Mhm.
that?
Oh, 100%. And what we have to realize is I am in the belief that every buying decision is an emotional buying decision. It's an emotional decision, right? Unless, I mean, buying deodorant isn't an emotional buying decision for me. I have to buy it so I don't stink. But when it comes to these other services like I offer, services that you offer, it's an emotional decision.
Yeah,
We are making an emotional decision to purchase something.
yeah,
So what we have to realize the importance of emotions and the importance of connecting to human emotions. So many of us want to talk about, I built a 7-figure company in a year, or I made this much money, or I drive a Lamborghini. And trust me, I love materialistic things. So I'm not judging anyone. If I can buy a Lamborghini, I'm going to buy one. If I can have a private jet, I'm going to have one. I have
yeah.
nothing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Uh-huh.
But I think the message doesn't need to be about your private jets or Lambos.
Okay.
The message needs to be about the struggles and the overcoming and the emotional connection. Because if we can emotionally connect, you are going to buy more from me because you like me as a person, not just because I can solve your problem. Anyone can solve your problem. There are many other people in this world that can solve your problem.
Uh-huh.
But you're going to buy from me versus everybody else because you emotionally connect to me as a human. Not just because my service is more affordable.
So do you think more people will have more success in their marketing and in their branding through just being completely open and honest about the difficulties that they've faced?
Yeah, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? It's like being on social media is like being stuck in this room that's losing oxygen because you're being surrounded by all these fancy, luxurious lifestyle, ads and images and videos.
Yeah.
And when someone's finally like, man, today sucked. Like I had to deal with 2 chargebacks, 3 refunds, had to deal with this client that's a pain in the ass. Like if we had those moments where we would be honest and be open, and it doesn't have to be like a negative thing, but just be honest about here's what's going on right now. Here's the struggle I'm facing. Here's the struggle I faced last week. Like if we shared more of those, I feel like we would connect on a deeper level to our audience.
That makes a lot of sense, man. I like that. If there was one thing that you could pass on to the people watching about getting their story out there to the press, on social media, in their advertising, is there anything that you would advise them?
Yeah, there's one thing. So getting in the press is not easy if you don't do it the right way. It is, however, easy if you do it the right way. So what I will say is the other day I had a phone call with a Fortune reporter, and he told me that day that my team pitched him, he got 374 pitches that day, which means in one day he got 374 pitches. So think about that. You are competing against 300 plus other people just that day alone, not including that week or that month or the past quarter. You're competing against all those people trying to get attention from that one person.
Okay.
What I always tell everybody is it's all about the process, right? So we actually made the free book. We got a free book. It's perfectmediapitch.com. And you just pay shipping and handling. And that actually, it gives away my secrets. And it's not a big book. It's an actionable book with screenshots and I share my process of how to do the research and how to write the email, so it increases your chances of a response when you're competing against 300 other people just that day alone.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's it's basically the thing I take from that. If correct me if I'm wrong, is these guys are basically getting spammed left, right, and center, right?
Yes,
so
all the time.
By standing out, you have to make that connection to the person who you're talking to.
Right. Just like if you're going to a bar to pick up a significant other, someone else, then you can't just go up and be like, hey, let's go home real quick. You know, there's a process. You got to build rapport, build a connection. Yeah. It's the same in PR.
It makes sense. So it's kind of, it seems to me in my world, which is I help people a lot with their social media content and branding and ads, especially when it comes to just organic content. The thing I tell people is that quantity beats quality, because you need to create lots of content for social media to always be in front of your audience, right? And the quality will come with time. It seems to me that the more kind of classic quality beats quantity applies very much to the PR world.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So a lot of people want to build like an email list and send out a pitch to 2,000 people and just see what happens. I will tell everybody, never write a press release. They're dead. They don't work anymore. Don't waste your time. But you know, don't play the numbers game. Play I call it the sniper approach, right? Yeah. Find the right contact that has it, that writes on your topic, that writes about your type of business, that has an interest that you connect with on some deeper level than just the surface, and that is going to increase your chances. I promise you that our company can get more results from 100 pitches than the average PR company can get from 2,000 because of the way that we do it.
That makes a lot of sense. So if someone were to follow your system individually, it's possible, am I right in saying you could follow your system without having anyone working for you? You could just do it yourself?
Yeah, you can do it yourself. You can have a VA do it. You can have an intern do it. I mean, we literally give away our process. So there's no reason that anyone can't do it. And anyone that's ever, I'll say it this way, anyone that's ever bought my course or taken or done our trainings and actually implemented what they learned, right? Because that's the hardest part. It's not just anyone can buy a course. It's implementing this hard. Has gotten results every time. Right. And I can confidently say that I've never had someone reach out to me and say, hey, this process doesn't work. Now, it's not a competition. I'm not telling someone, hey, come by so you can tell me that. But it's just, it really does work. It's just about, following the right process.
Really cool, man. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming on the interview today, the podcast, and we'll be putting this on social media, of course, anywhere and everywhere. We'll put the link to your website. Can you tell me the two websites again? We've got for the book, it's
perfectmediapitch.com.
Perfectmediapitch.com. And if they want to check you out, your website is
leveragedinfluence.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Cheers.